name is Dr. Laurie Roth, and here she is again, right now.
Dr. Jerry Corsi has joined us for a few minutes. He's at an event, and he is writing 2 or 3 other books, and you have Where's the Birth Certificate? No doubt a runaway hit again, like Abomination, if not more so, coming out in a few months. People can pre-order that. Jerry, I only have you for a few minutes. I've been quoting you and talking about our conversation at CPAC last week in D.C. and my articles, because I think it's really unforgivable. I said in my article today, I think it's unforgivable that most of the mainstream media, even the Glenn Becks and the Bill O'Reillys and the people that should know better and the Foxes, why they demonize people they call birthers. And we're weird people. We're tin helmet people. God knows what they think of you and now with this book. But you've done the research in Hawaii. You said something to me. We haven't found the birth certificate, but you said something that stuck in my mind, and I quoted you on it. The real story is that Obama lied.
That's the story. I mean, Obama's lied about his birth. I call it his birth nativity story. And look, there is no... when I was in 2008 in Hawaii, we had private investigators. We went to all the hospitals. There's no birth records of Obama. And the reason we're getting demonized is because the Obama people know that this is a lethal issue. This issue begins to get hold with the American people. My book comes out. You know, George put it up on his site for 2 days last week, and the book went to number 500 on Amazon. Got Amazon calling me today, positioning the book and getting ready for it. And this is 3 months before publication, Laurie. 3 months. It won't be out until May 17th.
Well, let's speculate a little bit. Only God knows what's going to happen. We've had Glenn Beck kind of minimize the story. Bill O'Reilly has called us names. Ann Coulter has even minimized it. Even Andrew Breitbart is minimized. I mean, there is a whole movement of marginalizing and minimizing and insulting anybody that deals with this issue. It's as if they've all been talked to or threatened or menaced into quiet. And I just pray to God that your book and talk shows like mine will put the light of truth on this, and that it will get enough momentum that Obama will finally have to come clean.
Well, look, Laurie, first of all, what the Republican Party is concerned about is that they are no longer controlling the agenda. It's the same with Breitbart. It's the same with John Boehner. The same with the mainstream media in general. They don't control the agenda anymore. It was this was the case back with the Swiftboat book. Karl Rove did not want the Swiftboat veterans talking either. But through talk radio, through the internet, we're communicating with the American people as a whole. And my book is already a bestseller, Laurie, and it's 3 months before publication. There were so many books ordered. Amazon is calling me, wanted to get a position, and, the book went to number 500 on Amazon because of the publicity Drudge gave it.
Well,
so Where's the Birth Certificate is going to be a huge book, and I expect this to be one of the most difficult books of my life because it's going to be so potentially dangerous and toxic to the Obama re-election campaign.
Well, I pray that it will be, because if anyone has studied you and your career and your reputation, they know that you'll dig to China for a real story, and you could give diddly squat how popular you are, unpopular. You are a real investigative journalist that goes to China for the story. That's why when you told me that you'd gone through the records, that you'd done the research, and you know for a fact that he was not born in Hawaii, that's all I need to hear. And that the question I have then is, how is Bill O'Reilly so sure? How is he so sure to marginalize this story all this time when he's supposed to be Mr. No Spin? That's all he does is spin like a dadgum tornado.
Well, and look, Laurie, if Abercormbie, the governor, had been able to find any birth records, he'd have released them. So now I'm getting calls from Hawaii that they're in the process of forging documents for Obama. And if they release forged documents, they're going to be committing felonies. And it'll be discovered. So, I mean, they're really in a bind. Because if Obama was not born in Hawaii, and that gets to be known, he's lied. And I think he's lied from the very beginning about all of his birth credentials. And I found that out when it was clear his mother left Hawaii within 3 weeks of when the baby was born. Where Obama always said his mother stayed in Hawaii. She wasn't in Hawaii. The family never lived together as a family. And Abercrombie saying he knows Obama and he knew him when he was a kid. So, well, New York Times said, were you there at the hospital when he was born? Abercrombie said no. And he couldn't have spent any time with, Barack Obama Sr., Ann Dunham, and the baby, because Ann Dunham was in Seattle going to the University of Washington taking extension courses. So it's all a lie. Barack Obama has lied, and that's the key issue.
So do you have, it's all speculation as to where he was born. I know there's a lot of pointers pointing at Kenya, but it really doesn't matter. Obviously he's hiding something. Most likely he was not born in the States, or he would have shown it by now, if nothing else, to mock talk radio and shut us up.
Well, Laurie, if they're going to forge documents, once they're forged, they're released. And so my point is, if Barack Obama had something, even forged, it would have been released by now. Because it could have been ended, 20 minutes if there had been legitimate birth credentials of Obama in Hawaii, and they've never been released. Hospitals don't have them. Otherwise, this whole thing would have been put to an end. All the documents would have been out there, and the issue would have died.
Now
what you've got is a much bigger issue because of all the attempt to squelch it, discredit people like me who want to bring the issue forward. And all it does is it boosts the sales of the book.
Well, I think it's fascinating, your timing. Once again, you release. I remember meeting you around the time that you released the Swift Boat veteran book, and I think that almost single-handedly you kept John Kerry out of the White House. Isn't it interesting? 17 or 18 months before, well, it will be released in a few months, so like 15 months before the next election, against this nightmare in the White House, you're releasing another book called Where's the Birth Certificate, responding to the 2.5-year controversy that the idiot media will not deal with. I think
American people will. And what's going to happen is that this book is going to communicate with the American people beyond the media, and that's what the media and the Republican Party hate, because they don't control the agenda anymore. I mean, who says that, Karl Rove or John Boehner or any of these others or David Gregory, what gives them the right to say what are the issues we're going to talk about and what are the issues we're not going to talk about?
No, there's no doubt about it. And I think, what they don't appreciate either is 100 million plus Tea Party people, as well as the growing Internet push. People have had it. And investigative journalists like you that aren't particularly endeared and owned by the Republicans or the Democrats, but independent thinkers, you're a horror show because you are a real investigative journalist. But the American people know that, or they wouldn't be buying your books.
Also, my goal is not to elect Republicans. I mean, that's what, again, they don't understand. They say, well, we want to debate the policy issues. Well, go ahead. But, why do we have to ignore fundamental issues of whether Obama's told the truth about who he is? That's a legitimate question, and if I want to pursue it in a book and raise the issue again, where's the birth certificate, and they want to falsify documents, if that's the next stage in this, well, then we'll expose that.
So do you anticipate that's what they'll do next, even though no doubt they'd be caught? I don't
know. I'm getting calls from Hawaii right now. I've got lots of internal sources, and people are saying they're getting ready to falsify documents about Obama's birth. But if they do that, my contention is if they have the documents falsified, they would have already released them. And I don't think they're going to go that route, because that's a big, big step. I mean, if Obama gets caught falsifying birth records or allowing birth records to be falsified on his behalf, and they, are demanded to be authenticated, and the hospitals don't have corroborating records, it becomes a deeper story. This is one of those stories, it's like Watergate. When you start probing a lie, and you're onto an official lie, the government, by continuing the cover-up, only deepens the controversy and deepens the intrigue.
Do you think with your book release, let's say it sells many, many millions of copies and a lot of people read it before the next election cycle, do you think the best way of accountability with him, since it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to find the long-form birth certificate, someone's hiding it or not talking, okay, is our only plan to not get him reelected?
Well, I think the fundamental truth is that Obama was not born in Hawaii. And that's what's been covered up the entire time. Hawaii knows it. Barack Obama knows it. It would have been so easy to produce the birth document. If he was born at Kapiolani Hospital, all Kapiolani had to do was release the records, and Hawaii had to release the records. Now even the Hawaii legislature has backed off this plan to sell birth records for $100. So they're trapped. I mean, falsifying documents is a felony.
Yeah.
And if the governor of Hawaii and the Hawaii government gets into falsifying documents and they get found out, that's going to destroy Obama. And if Obama in the last 20 minutes says, oh, here's my birth certificate, or here's, the documentation of my birth in Hawaii, people are going to say, what took you so long, and are those documents legitimate? So again, Barack Obama's worked himself into a corner by lying.
But if he doesn't do anything and your book goes out and people create more and more question marks, even with Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck and all these people putting us down, I'm wondering how they're going to spin their way out of this one if it just builds a momentum and eventually the birth certificate's discovered. I don't know why it hasn't been discovered now. Someone hasn't come forward.
It hasn't been brought forward because it doesn't exist. So they've got two choices. They can either admit it doesn't exist, or they can, three choices. They can continue stonewalling, or they can produce falsified documents. And the problem is that, it's like telling a lie. Once you've told a lie, you're cornered in the lie. And Barack Obama's nativity story is a lie. I think Jack Cashill's book has done a very good job of exposing it as well. Saying that Bill Ayers wrote, and I think it's good evidence that Bill Ayers was a major author of Dreams for My Father. The Barack Obama nativity story is a lie, and by the time it gets to the next election, where the economics are going, with the oil prices, it's like Jimmy Carter all over again. But you've got a deep, dark secret about who Barack Obama is. It's not just the birth certificate. What about the passport records? What about the school records? What about all the records Barack Obama has suppressed and
even
with
the pressure, growing pressure, Obama's not about to admit it because he has to know as an attorney that he's got himself into a legal corner, too. If it's proven that he has lied, is that not a felony and a crime and fraud? Every bill he's ever signed is null and void, is it not?
It is. And look, the Democratic Party, when they certified the Hawaii Democratic Party, when they certified Barack Obama's, ability to go on the ballot, they lied there too. All those certifications of, from Nancy Pelosi that Barack Obama was eligible to be president weren't backed up by any documents. And she very carefully neglected in all those certifications to use the language that said Barack Obama is qualified under Article 2, Section 1. So as the American public gets onto this and gets onto what a huge story it is, I think Barack Obama lying about who he truly is and what the past is going to come out.
And do you think it's going to matter enough that he won't get reelected, that people will realize, oh my gosh, he's a fraud and he's a liar?
If the economy were bubbling and unemployment was going down and oil prices were fine and the Middle East weren't blowing up, if this weren't like Jimmy Carter too, the American people might give him a pass. But when the economics are bad, when we're on the edge of having to declare that this is a depression. The state governments cannot pay the government employee benefits any longer.
I know you're at a meeting, and I know you have to go. People can still reorder your book right now, can't they?
Yes, they can. And Where's the Birth Certificates in pre-publication sales on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, the WND Superstore. And the more people order it pre-publication, even 3 months out, the more it becomes an irresistible issue.